The serpent was the hero. Now, I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, but the Gnostics teach that the serpent in the Garden of Eden was the hero and not the villain. He told Eve the truth while the Creator God lied to keep humanity ignorant. And eating the fruit was never the fall of man, but rather the first act of spiritual rebellion against a tyrannical false god. Now, I know this completely inverts everything you've been taught about Genesis, so let me show you how Gnostics read this story. The setup begins with the false god's prison. In the Gnostic reading, the Garden of Eden isn't paradise, it's a prison. The creator god who made it isn't the true god, rather he's the demiurge known as Yaldabaoth, the ignorant false god who thinks he's the only god but is actually a lower entity. He creates Adam and Eve and places them in the garden, but notice what he does immediately. He commands them not to eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, for in the day that you eat of it you shall surely die. Now, why would a good god forbid knowledge? Why would divine wisdom be off limits? Well, that's the first clue that something's wrong. And I know the Orthodox Christians out there don't want to hear this, but the serpent tells the truth. The serpent appears and tells Eve, "You will not surely die, for God knows that when you eat of it, your eyes will be opened and you will be like God, knowing good and evil." Orthodox Christianity says this is a lie. The serpent is Satan, the deceiver, trying to trick humanity into sin. But here's what actually happens. Eve eats the fruit, and so does Adam, and they don't die. Their eyes are opened, and they do gain knowledge. The serpent told the complete truth. It was the demiurge who lied. He said that they'd die. They didn't. He wanted them ignorant. The serpent offered enlightenment. Now let's talk about the line, "You will be like God." This is the key line in the entire scene. The serpent says eating the fruit will make them like God, knowing good and evil. The demiurge is terrified of this. After they eat, God says in Genesis 3:22, "Behold, the man has become like one of us, knowing good and evil." One of us, not unique and not special. Adam became like the divine beings. The demiurge's monopoly on knowledge was completely broken, and humanity accessed what was supposed to remain hidden. This is what the demiurge feared, humans realizing their own divine nature and becoming conscious, no longer controllable through ignorance. The punishment reveals the tyrant. I mean, just look at what the creator God does after they eat the fruit. Does he lovingly guide them? Teach them how to use their new knowledge wisely? No, he curses them. He curses the woman with pain in childbirth and submission to her husband, and he curses the man with hard labor and eventual death. He curses the ground itself, and then he banishes them from the garden and posts angels with flaming swords to make sure they never return. This is the behavior of a tyrant whose subjects just discovered they don't have to obey. This is a prison warden punishing escaped inmates. It doesn't sound like divine love, but more like authoritarian rage. Now let's talk about how the serpent is actually the liberator. In Gnostic texts, the serpent is identified with Sophia, or divine wisdom, or even with Christ himself, the divine messenger sent from beyond the demiurge's creation to wake up the sleeping divine sparks that are trapped in matter. The Ophites, an early Gnostic sect,